My Mill64F wants me 34F to change the name of my business maiden name to their surname. How to soften the blow. I 34F am a cosmetic surgeon, and I opened my practice last year. It's been doing very well, and I'm doing the planning now to open another branch at a neighboring state, which is my in-laws' state. My husband comes from a well-to-do family. Grandfather was wealthy, whereas my parents were immigrants and had to get their masters here again while already having a PhD from my home country. I barely saw my parents growing up so that they could house and feed us. My practice has both my mom and dad's last names. My husband is a great guy and his family is very nice, but they value different things and have weird priorities. I wanted a small wedding in the US because I had another reception in my parents' home country. Mill offered to pay for a larger wedding so that they can invite more of their friends, but I stuck to the 50 people limit, which is a lot. I wanted 30 at the beginning because I wanted people my husband and I both knew and loved to be there. I didn't want my Mill's stylist, her business partner, or their family lawyer to attend. She eventually complied and kept meddling occasionally from then on. I never changed my last name, but would unofficially be referred to Mrs. Husb's last name. At work I still use my name to not confuse my staff and patients, but also to honor my dad for everything he has done all my life. Now that I'm opening another practice, Mill wants me to use the family name as the brand. I told her it would create confusion and people might not know it was mine. I built a lot of trust, patronage and recognition using my brand, so I don't want to keep correcting people and to start from the bottom in a sense. It makes perfect sense and is the smart decision business-wise. There's also some legal and extra paperwork to be done if I used a different name. She said she is so proud of me and wants to show me off, and also her family name is very famous around here, so I might get more patients. She also joked that she should get some royalty for that too. Their surname is an old American name that back in the day used to do bad things, i.e. corruption and more. I do not want to use that name. I am Southeast Asian, my staff are diverse, and it's something I am proud of since we do focus on ethnic and cultural aesthetics instead of the generic witty European aesthetics. I'm walking on eggshells here, and I plan to let my husband deal with her. They always do a family dinner, and I see her maybe once every 2 weeks, and she always brings this up. Recently, 2 of my sister-in-laws have been pestering me to do it too. Update. It scared me how many people commented in my previous post. I read through most of the comments and rest assured, I am never ever going to change my brand. I just wanted a soft way to tell my Mill and Sills to back off. I didn't mention this, but my husband doesn't know about any of this. So many assumed that he knew, but just did nothing when it's my fault that I never included the information that I never told him yet. To me, this is a trivial matter, and I did not want to involve him since he is a professional too, but in a different field, and he's handling a big project at the moment, and I don't want to pile this on him. I respect and agree about those suggested dialogues on how to tell my Mill to stop bringing it up, but I wanted a way to gently tell her I won't be changing my brand as opposed to no is a complete sentence, and while it is, I would have definitely said that to a rude stranger, but not to a close family member. Call it the Asian in me, but I don't want to be rude to her. My parents have returned to our home country to enjoy retirement, so the only family I have here is my brother who lives in Canada. My in-laws are my only family in the States, and they are good people, but sometimes their entitlement does show. I let my husband know, and he was mad that I didn't tell him earlier. He's a lawyer and helped me build my business. He said that he never felt like less of a man when I didn't take his name since it wasn't me that went through med school and residency, and hell, if I did I know my weak butt would tap out early. Lol. He planned to FaceTime my Mill tonight to tell her to back off. Something I feel guilty of saying in my last post was saying witty European aesthetics are generic. I wrote that post quickly in an Uber and didn't properly think that through. My practice caters to all skin types, for all races, and for each of their own very personal expectations of what they want to achieve. I owe a big apology to anyone who got offended. And yes, I do have a prenup. Next story. My fiancé M21 is taking my F22 last name. His parents are threatening not to come to our wedding. How do we handle this? My fiancé M21, Alex, and I F22 have been together 6 years, getting married this year. I never cared much about my last name, but after some recent family events realized I want to keep mine. Alex doesn't mind, and chose to change his last name so we'd match. Upon finding out, Alex's parents Lisa and Luke yelled at him. Lisa cussed him out, so my parents let him stay with us for the last week of winter break. We were home on break from college and live a few miles apart. Lisa and Luke say Alex is destroying and disowning his family, publicly humiliating them, and say I'm stripping him of his manhood. They told us we're unbiblical, and that women should submit. To them it's political too. They said the queer community is the reason we're susceptible to this, transgender people are to blame, and America is in its downfall. This is just another sign. Alex has gotten plenty of texts from Lisa, calling him hateful, cruel, and cold, asking how he can let her suffer. The meetings Alex had with his parents went poorly. They told him they wanted to see him and not talk about the name, but then did. One meeting involved both sets of parents. Lisa and Luke talked 90% of the time before getting up and leaving. They're mad Alex stayed with us and said even if we go with his name, they'd resent us and my family for supporting us. Lisa threatened to cut Alex off and says he won't get another penny. They had planned to contribute to our wedding, stating there were no strings attached, and they fund his college apartment. Lisa said this is the worst thing to happen to her since losing her first baby, and that it's worse than if Alex had gotten me pregnant, killed someone drunk driving, or was gay. She's telling Alex that his grandparents will have to move to assisted living from heartbreak, and Luke keeps telling Alex his choice is hurting people. Their main reason seems to be that it is tradition and that they want the last name carried on. It's not an uncommon last name. I also learned that Lisa borderline tried to talk Alex out of proposing. Alex asked me to marry him anyway, and Lisa called my mom in the midst of the engagement excitement to share her disapproval. They said that they get a say until Alex is married, and that's when they'll leave us be. Lisa and Luke keep texting Alex and my parents, but I have never gotten anything. They openly dislike me now, bad-mouthing me whether I'm there or not. I've decided my relationship with Lisa and Luke is over. It was rocky before as they tried to push their religion onto me numerous times. Alex is deciding how much more he can give. He hasn't taken a harsh tone or spoken rudely to his parents, but is tired. Now his parents say if Alex won't move back home, their financial support ends. They say the family won't come to the wedding, and one of his siblings actually has left the wedding party. Obviously, I have decided to stay mostly away from Lisa and Luke now, but they are Alex's family. With the wedding still coming up, we're unsure how to move forward. TLDR. My male fiancé is taking my last name. His parents are freaking out because I'm the woman and should take his. The verbal and emotional abuse are out of control, and they're threatening not to attend the wedding. Edit to add, Lisa and Luke's financial support is not necessary, and the wedding will proceed with or without it. Just thought it relevant to point out that the money that was offered, no strings attached, clearly does have strings. We know we are young and are still getting married after spending 6 years together. Postponing the wedding isn't something we're willing to do. Update. Alex and I got married last month, and everything was absolutely beautiful since my original post. After more months of emotional and verbal abuse, Alex made the difficult decision that his parents were no longer welcome at our wedding. He explained that he couldn't trust them to respect his boundaries, respect us at all, or respect what the event was about. As expected, they freaked out, asking if he was trapped and needed help, saying everything had become about me and telling him he'd been isolated from everyone he loves. We're not sure what story they told Alex's extended family. Alex reached out to everyone to explain what had been going on, but every response he received was more disgust toward his name choice, refusal of wedding invitations, and saying he needed to apologize, grovel, and fix the family. Most of Lisa's family were the ones talking the most about how dishonorable he was being and how he was breaking apart the family. Interesting, seeing none of them share Lisa and Luke's last name. Luke's family does. Luckily, only one invitation was returned with nasty notes inside, but the rest of the digital responses took Lisa and Luke's side, berated Alex for doing this near the anniversary of the death of Lisa's first child, and called him cruel and hateful. For context, Lisa's first child passed away a few days after birth, over 25 years ago. Alex says there has never been any remembrance that he knows of, and they do nothing on the anniversary. He doesn't even know the date of the anniversary. Lisa and Luke explained what happened once when he was young, and never mentioned anything again. We're unsure why it's all coming back up now, after presenting as generally unimportant his whole life. Apparently, this drama being 4 months from the anniversary was disrespectful. His sister Alice also went off the rails. After checking in to see how Alex was doing, Alice got angry that he wanted to discuss things over text instead of on the phone. It became obvious that she wanted him on the phone to berate him, because she ranted about how he was steamrolling their parents and wasn't really an adult because he wasn't married yet. She said she had encouraged Lisa and Luke to cut him off long ago, and that I wasn't acting like family since I stopped letting her follow my Instagram account. This was after she dropped out as a bridesmaid and made it clear she didn't support our marriage. I decided not everyone gets full access to my life. As his only sibling, it was devastating for Alex to watch Alice spiral into fully taking their parents' side, after initially leading him to believe she had his back and being supportive. After saying not to expect her and Alex's bill at the wedding, there's been no further contact since Alice refuses to speak to him unless he'll talk on the phone. At this point, he won't do any phone calls, as we'd rather have record of everything that goes down. Many people tried to talk to Lisa and Luke, my own parents, mutual friends, etc., to encourage them to choose relationship, and explain the damage they were causing wasn't worth the loss they'd endure. It seemed to have no effect. Alex was quick to become no longer financially dependent on his parents. We've changed his phone plan, reclaimed all his bills from Lisa and Luke, fully moved him out, and finished college. We're not sure if they attended graduation. They texted Alex the day before to say they'd be there, but then turned off their location services. Graduation day was stressful and nerve-wracking, with Alex not knowing if they'd make a scene or corner him. He left as soon as he walked across the stage and made it to his car with no interactions. Since then, as most Redditors suggested, we've been nearly no contact with Lisa and Luke. We spent the first 6 weeks of summer finishing wedding details, and our day last month was gorgeous. Alex received no communication between graduation and the wedding, and has no plans to continue their relationship without an apology. Lisa and Luke did not show up to the wedding or say anything day of. The only recent change is Lisa unfollowing and unfriending both of us and my family on all social media. For me, my in-law relationships are basically over, apology or not. Learning they'd never supported our engagement, ignoring my existence, and hating me because of my political and religious beliefs is enough for me not to keep contact. Thank you, Redditors, for your kind help and good wishes. Our day was truly perfect and straight out of a fairy tale, and we're looking forward to the next chapter of our lives, with hopefully less drama. TLDR, parents were uninvited to the wedding. Sister flipped a switch. Currently no contact with all. Wedding day was beautiful and not dramatic. Next story. My husband's open marriage suggestion backfired on him. My husband Leo, 34M, and I, 30F, have been together for 7 years, married for 4 of them. We don't have any kids, and we don't intend to. 2 years ago, Leo asked me for an open marriage. I was devastated at the time. I couldn't understand why he didn't just want me. I couldn't even comprehend the idea of sharing him either. He gave me the same song and dance a lot of men give their spouses, swore up and down that he loved me. I just wasn't fulfilling his needs. He needed more than what I could give. It was just to spice up our life. It was just sex, etc., etc. I did ask if there was someone else. he said no. To this day, I'm still not sure if I believed him. But at the time, I was angry and hurt and said no. He pestered me to change my mind for a week before giving me an ultimatum: open marriage or divorce. I chose the open marriage. I just couldn't bear the thought of him leaving me at the time. We have rules. We can't bring any partners home. We have to get tested for STD every 3 months. 1 weekend out of the month must be left free for us time. Any money we spend on with our partners must come from our personal accounts. I didn't partake in the open marriage myself for the first 3 months. Leo obviously did right away. He seemed to be gone or out late almost all the time, but he always acted so happy and loving towards me while I felt like I was dying inside. It killed me to think he was sleeping with other women, and I felt so lonely and unattractive and not good enough. I told my sister Katie, 26F, and a few close friends everything. Katie told me to just play his game and be part of the open marriage too. If he can sleep around, so could I. I honestly didn't have much confidence in myself at the time. I'm a bit overweight and I've never considered myself conventionally pretty. I was afraid this would just humiliate me further. Katie and my best friend Jessie 30F set up my online dating profiles for me. I got so many matches that it was overwhelming. When I told Leo, he was surprised, but told me to do whatever I thought was best. Jessie helped me choose my first date, and I actually had a great time. He didn't pressure me for sex and took me out to drinks and dinner. We did have sex eventually, but it was all just casual, and we didn't see each other after a couple months of casual dating. That first guy really made me feel more confident in myself, so I kept going on dates with men. A lot of them wanted to treat me, so I didn't have to spend much of my own money. Not only that, but some of the men have given me the best sex I've ever had in my life. Almost like the kind of sex you read in romance novels. It's been amazing. I am currently seeing 2 different men alongside Leo. One, Mark, 38M, is more of a steady boyfriend I've been with for about 6 months, and the one, Steven, 25M, is very casual, mostly just hanging out and sex. They know about my open Mariajatha relationships and are fine with it. My husband has not been so lucky. In the beginning, he definitely was. He was always out and about and didn't seem to care even when I started dating too. But now he just complains a lot and hasn't been going out much. He whines about how he's usually the one spending money. A lot of the women he tries to be with want an emotional connection before sex. He often wants to be with younger women, but they want younger men. He's also been upset that I go out with random guys so often while he's at home alone all the time. He hasn't asked to close the marriage yet, but I feel like he will soon. He keeps saying he misses us and wants to spend more time together. He tried to initiate sex a lot more too. He wants to go on dates and go on vacations and all that stuff more and more. And he gets upset when I tell him I can't because I've already scheduled to do stuff with my partners, mostly Mark. Honestly, I don't think I love Leo anymore. I care about him, but I just don't love him. I'm not saying I love Mark or Steven, but I honestly feel closer to Mark nowadays than I do Leo. Mark makes me feel comfortable and safe, and I love spending time with him more than my own husband. Steven is funny and sweet and really good at sex. Katie and Jessie have been wanting me to divorce for a year now, but I was afraid of hurting him and thought I still loved him. But I think my love for him died when he asked for this open marriage in the first place. Seeing him get all pissy about it now just because he's not benefiting from it is also a turn-off for me too. But I don't know if divorce is the best option. I still care about him, and I still don't want to hurt him. Maybe if he finally asks to close the marriage, we can talk about it then. Update. Hi everyone. I got so many comments and messages on my last post, which got deleted for some reason that I was a bit overwhelmed. Especially when a lot of you kept saying the same thing, divorce, divorce, divorce. But the thing is, I think a part of me does still loves my husband. I know in my last post that I didn't think I loved him anymore, but I can't just forget about the things that I do love. I love when he sings in the shower. I love when he laughs so hard, he snorts. I love when he kisses my forehead when I've had a bad day. I love when he holds my hand when he watch TV together. Leo has done a lot of crappy things, but he really isn't the big butthole people think. Maybe that was my fault. But even if I do still love him, I'm not in love with him anymore. I don't think I have been for a while. I care about him, a part of me does still love him, but you all were right. I should have just divorced him when he gave me that ultimatum in the first place. This past Saturday, we had the big talk. I initiated it, but he didn't seem too surprised. I just told him that I noticed he didn't seem to like me going out with Mark or Steven and asked if there was a problem. He said there was. But he didn't ask me to close the marriage. He just asked me if I still loved him. I said something like, "Not like I used to." He broke down crying, which made me cry. I guess he had known for a while that I wasn't in love anymore, but he had hoped he could win me back if he funneled all of his energy into me. I was honest and told him that during those first 3 months of our open marriage, I think my love for him died and I just couldn't get it back. I did tell him that I still cared about him and that I did love him, but it's not the same as it was. He asked if I loved Mark or Steven, and I said no. I like being with them and I care about them a lot, but I can't say I'm in love with either of them. I also finally asked him why he wanted the open marriage in the first place. A lot of you in the comments said he already had someone lined up, and you were right. He had someone at work he was interested in and she wanted him too. The open marriage was just to get permission. He honestly never expected me to also get my own partners because of how unconfident I was. But he didn't want to stop me either because he thought nothing would come of it. He didn't really like me seeing other men, but he knew it wouldn't have been fair to tell me no when I gave him permission first. I guess Mark and Steven made him insecure because I was spending so much time with them on a regular basis. The open marriage was just sex on the side for him. He only did hookups and they never lasted long. He genuinely always just loved only me. But he thought I was falling in love with my partners and he was losing me and wanted to win me back. We cried a lot and talked a lot. We've decided to get a divorce. Since the house is in his name, I'm going to move out and live with Katie for a while. He told me I didn't have to and I could stay until the divorce was finalized, but I just can't. It's too hard to even look at him sometimes. I don't know, I feel, to be honest. I thought I would be relieved or sad, but I'm just tired. I wish I could have been like you all wanted me to be, clapping back or being sarcastic and snarky or rubbing it in his face, but I don't feel like I've won anything. I just feel lost. Next story. Am I the butthole for telling my dad's husband I don't want him to adopt me and his bringing up my dead father is not winning me over? I 16M have 2 dads. One died before I was born, Daddy. He was my non-bio father and his best friend was my parent's surrogate. She's my Auntie Giga. My dad is my bio parent and my daddy's widower. And yeah, I say dad and daddy, and still say daddy as a 16-year-old guy. Dad always referred to daddy as daddy to me, so I use it. A month before I was born, Daddy died. My dad changed completely that day. Because of where we live, even back then, my daddy was still able to be recognized on my birth certificate. It was a fight and involved the courts. But it happened. It was really uncommon back then, but he won the case thanks to Auntie Giga and other family members recognizing my 2 dads. I grew up always knowing about Daddy, and I always cherished the connection to him. I was always glad my dad won the right for both of them to be legally my parents. I was also always treated like their son, not just dads or not dads and Auntie Gigas. When I was 4, my dad tried to date again, and he met Sam. They dated for about 3 months, but Dad wasn't ready and Sam didn't like what he saw. He felt jealous and insecure that he wasn't being brought in as another dad for me. They reconnected when I was 8 and got married when I was 12. My relationship with Sam is complicated and weird, and he wants to adopt me. But I don't want him to be my dad. I don't want to be adopted by him or to have him take care of me if I become an orphan. He has always made it a point to bring up the fact Daddy wasn't my bio father in the first place, and how legally it was a miracle he's even on my birth certificate. I hate it. It feels so gross. He has told me at least I'll know him, while Daddy is someone who's just saintly in my mind because I wasn't allowed to process only having one parent. Even though I know I was raised by one parent, but I still had two. He just wasn't here. But I read the book he was putting together for me. He documented a lot of the parenting journey and surrogacy stuff and the pregnancy until his death. He was so excited. He loved me so much. He wanted me so badly. On Father's Day, we had a big fight over adoption. Dad was out and Sam brought up the adoption to me. He told me he's tired of feeling like an outsider because I always treat him like Dad's spouse instead of my stepdad or my parent. I told him because that's what he is and he has to learn to accept that. I told him nothing changed for me. He told me it's stupid because I love one stepdad so much more. I told him Daddy is more than just a stepdad, and then I told him I don't want him to adopt me ever, and bringing up Daddy isn't winning me over. I told him if anything he's making me wish Dad had found someone better. Dad doesn't know what happened, but things have been tense since, and Sam said I went too far. Am I the butthole? Update. I told Dad everything. He brought me out to get ice cream, and we just talked for like 4 hours about everything that happened. My dad was so upset. He had no idea Sam had ever mentioned adoption to me. Sam never mentioned he wanted to go that far. We both ended up crying because Dad felt so guilty, and I felt awful hurting my dad. All I ever wanted was for him to be really happy. He got really mad when I told him what Sam said about Daddy being just a stepfather. My dad isn't a guy who gets mad, so to see him that way was surprising, but also not really because he still loves Daddy so much. I ended up spending the night at my best friend's house, and I'm still here. He said he needed to take care of things without me there, and he'd pick me up later today. He sent me a text late last night that said Sam won't be at the house when we get back home. And he apologized again. He apologized a lot yesterday. Also, Sam sent me an angry text at some point and I blocked his number. I figure I don't need to have it anymore. Next story. I found my wife's secret Google account and I'm sick to my stomach. Obligatory sorry for mobile formatting. I am 36, met my wife Bailey F33 9 years ago through mutual coworkers and we hit it off immediately. I fell absolutely head over heels with this woman. She was everything I was looking for. I had gotten out of a toxic, dare I say abusive, long-term relationship right before that with a woman Bailey had been acquainted with, but not friends with. I had her blocked on everything, and had no contact with her since breaking up. We got married right after the tail end of the pandemic, bought our first house together, and started trying to conceive. That was difficult because Bailey has PCOS, but last year she finally gave birth to our first daughter. I'm having a blast being a dad. It's kind of a dream come true. I finally got my happy life with my perfect wife. My perfect wife, until last Monday. My laptop's battery crapped the bed, so I opened up Bailey's work tablet with an attached keyboard. You can set it up like a monitor to check on some tax stuff. She wasn't home, it was just me and the baby. But we've never asked permission to use each other's devices. We've always been open like that. There's nothing for us to hide. That's what I thought. When I opened up the internet, I noticed she had the incognito tab open. Never in a million years did I expect to discover what I did. My wife has a secret Google account with a photo album saved called Roman 20. So I clicked on it. Did I discover an affair? Nudes? Nope. In this Google album were over 300 photos, 348 actually, of my ex. The woman I was with right before I met Bailey. The woman who tormented me and made me feel worthless. The album said it was started back right around the time Bailey and I started dating, and was updated as recently as 2 weeks ago. The photos range from candid shots with family to pictures at her work functions. There were even pictures from her yearbook. I don't know how Bailey could have found her high school yearbook photos. photos from vacations, Idaho photos from work, pictures of her in crowds, screenshots of videos, and screen recordings of videos. Just her. The other people in the photos would be scribbled out, or the photo would be cropped and zoomed in just on my ex. There was other disturbing things I found too. There was another album with just zoomed up pictures of my ex's hair. Come to think of it, Bailey had recently started wearing her hair different, and my ex had a very identifiable hair type. There was another album with screenshots of comments on social media. Of course I can't find them because I have her blocked. Like Facebook groups she's in and public posts. And my ex is very low-key on social media. I can't imagine the lengths Bailey went to find them. My ex literally lives in another country now. There were also different links to the exact outfits she was wearing, like very specific blouses and trousers you'd have to really go looking for to find. A specific water bottle I remembered her purchasing, and identical hiking boots and sandals. So basically, my partner of almost a decade has been single white femaling my ex-girlfriend, has secretly stalked her to the point of buying her exact clothes and changing her hair. And now I'm starting to realize Bailey's new interests over the years were just my ex's. Bailey has turned herself into my ex. Everything feels like a lie. Our love feels like a lie. The things we share feel like a lie. I threw up and had a panic attack. I looked at our daughter and felt betrayed. I haven't confronted her yet. I don't know if I want to. I want to run away with our daughter. I want to print out all her pictures, leave them on the table, and disappear. I don't know what to do. I just want to throw up. Update. I'm pretty sure I accidentally got my original post removed just now because I tried to update it with a link to my update. Oops. Anyway, I'm the guy who found the Google Drive full of pictures of my ex. So, I was not expecting my original post to go viral on YouTube and TikTok and have so many responses. Yikes. I am overwhelmed by the support. I am humbled by the number of people who have been through this experience on both sides. I have an update, but it's probably not as exciting and as juicy as you want. It's not bad, though. First, let me clear things up. If people think this post is fake because it doesn't make sense, or are trying to conceive timeline is short, or the way I worded things makes it look like a teenager or woman wrote it, continue to think that because it means I've successfully been vague enough and worded things to not accidentally dox myself. Believe this is a creative writing exercise so I don't embarrass myself. For real. No, I didn't actually throw up. I was in the middle of a panic attack. Private browsing tabs were open to the websites with clothing and objects. Another tab was signed into Google Photos. When I exited the Google Photo tab to look at the websites with clothing and came back, it was already signed out and I couldn't get back in. A lot of the clothing I recognized wasn't because I remembered my ex wearing them. There were more recent pictures of her in the file wearing them, and I remember the day Bailey bought the water bottle that also happened to be in the folder. The hair. Bailey and my ex are the same race, and my ex wore braids in a particular way. Not so particular that it's exclusive to my ex, because Bailey has also worn different braids, but seeing pictures of her made me put two and two together. Is there any way Bailey could have gotten with me in an attempt to get to my ex? Was Bailey possibly obsessed with my ex before she met me? Probably not, because Bailey grew up here and my ex originally moved here for university. And while you can drive across the border, it's not that easy, and I don't think Bailey was going back and forth to stalk her in person. Also, the reasons why my ex and I broke up have nothing to do with Bailey, and she could not have had any involvement. On to the actual update. The next day, when I had calmed down, I called several social workers and therapists. I was planning to confront her there. Unfortunately, the only places that take our insurance did not have an opening for another couple weeks. So, despite what a lot of you think, I've known my wife for nearly a decade, and even while I was confused and upset and doubting things, I didn't think she'd be a danger to me. We took baby to grandma's and I asked her to go for a walk with me. I did not beat around the bush and straight up told her I found the folder. Her face got very red and she was frozen, but also tried to play dumb at first. I was persistent, and she started crying and begged me not to leave her. This is what I uncovered. Bailey first started looking up my ex out of curiosity. To keep tabs, I guess. But over time it became more pathological. It's like she got addicted to it. But she also wanted to please me. Okay, maybe I talked about my ex a lot more than I thought. And Bailey wanted to emulate the good parts. She told me she really doesn't know who she is, and my ex's image was something she latched onto because she had me first. Finding information about her became a game. Finding the clothing and objects became a game, by searching things like blue water bottle green stripe until she compare the product to a photo and find the exact one. The reason why I couldn't find the posts wasn't because I had blocked my ex, but because my ex had made a new Facebook under a different name. Bailey found her profile by searching up a family member. She made fake social media and added enough mutual friends until she could see my ex's posts, and until her private Instagram accepted her. She weaseled her way into her exercise Facebook group, where the videos were posted, and searched her school on a yearbook website to find the yearbook pictures. Over time, she just collected the images and would get excited to find something new, despite the fact that my ex is extremely private on social media. The folder had originally been called Hex the Ex. In case I discovered it, she was going to make the excuse of saving the pictures to put a hex on her. When she made a burner Google account, she deleted the old folder and named the new one Roman 20. Then she got sloppy and comfortable, and that's right around the time I just happened to open the work tablet. We took a break. It was a while. We made it to couples counseling, and Bailey and I also began seeing separate therapists. She still has not had an assessment with a psychiatrist, but it's on the list. She promised to stop and deleted the album in front of me. Slowly, certain clothing items began to disappear from the closet. I still do not entirely trust her, and that is for me to work on. I'm afraid she has another secret account somewhere, like a backup. The physical mimicking is actually stopping, though, including the hair change. We're still not okay. I want us to be okay, and it's okay if that takes time. If we end up not being okay, then that's something I have to deal with. What I do know is that my wife is incredibly insecure, probably mentally ill, and is misled. I don't really want to walk away from that. Although this probably isn't the most exciting update, I appreciate the private messages I just couldn't get back to, Reddit cares, and links to resources. I'm not sure how I feel about social media, YouTube and TikTok picking up on my story though. That's wild. Until next time, if I ever give another update, I hope it's a good one. I hope you guys like this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share, and subscribe the channel James Stories.